Okay, you will need some vocab cards. I'm not sure how many, so if you have some extras at the end, please put them back in to the pickup basket. And I'm going to try to save cards here because we are going through quite a few of them. Please pause the video as needed to get everything completed. But these vocab cards are not only going to review for M-Step, they're also going to get us ready for our test, which is this Friday. So the first card I'd like you to draw is with circles. We're going to draw area and circumference, and so with two different circles. The first circle, we are given a radius of 5, and I want you to remember that radius is halfway across the circle. So the formula for the area of a circle, area equals pi r squared. So when you're given the radius, it's very easy. It's 5. So we would do pi times 5 squared. And you would use the pi button on your calculator. And when I do that, you can verify, but that comes out to be area is equal to 78.5. And let's just call this inches. Since we're talking about inches, the units are going to be squared. Now, just as a reminder, in this problem, if you were given a diameter of 10, in order to use this formula, you first would have to cut 10 in half to get 5 so that you can use the radius. You can use 5 as the radius. And remember, this is measuring how many square inches would fit inside of this pi, so covering up the entire pi. That's what area means. The next one's circumference. Circumference is the distance all the way around, and the circumference formula is pi times diameter. So in this case, we're given diameter is 11, so we do pi times 11. And that comes out to be 34.6. And circumference is a distance around. So it's like wrapping a string all the way around and then measuring how long it is. So our units are only inches. Now in this case, if you were given the radius, if you were given a radius of 5.5 inches and you had to use this formula, you first would have to take the radius and double it to get diameter. So sometimes people refer to the circumference formula as 2 pi r, because the 2 times the r is where you double radius, and that gives you diameter, then times pi. So once again, feel free to pause this video if you need to catch up on this formula. And I'm going to move on so that I can save tape time. Okay, the next formula we're going to talk about is the area formula for a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a four-sided shape that has two different length bases, and the height is measured as the perpendicular distance between the two. So the formula for the area of a trapezoid is you do 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times your height. So in this case, I'm going to take 9 plus 14, because that's my two bases, multiply it by the height, which is 11, and then times it by 0.5. And please pause the video and check this on your calculator to make sure you're typing it in correctly. And if you did, it should have been 126.5. And again, we're dealing with area, so that's inches squared. Okay, the next one, again with area, we're going to review a parallelogram and a triangle. Well, this was a pretty quickly drawn parallelogram, but this length and this length are the same. size. So I'm going to put a dash and a dash, and they're parallel. And this side are the same size length, and they are parallel. So I'm going to say that this is 26 centimeters long. And what we need for a parallelogram is we need the perpendicular height. So the formula for the area of a parallelogram is just base times height. So in this case we would do 26 times 17. And the area comes out to be 442 centimeters squared. So once again, we're dealing with area, so it's square units. Over here in this triangle, for a triangle, you have to have the base of the triangle, and you also have to be given the perpendicular height of the triangle. Perpendicular means that it forms this 90-degree angle. The area formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we're going to do 10 times 19 and then cut it in half. So 10 times 19 is 190. Cut in half comes out to be 95, whatever the units are, inches squared. Okay, so we've dealt with this formula over and over again. You have to make sure that you are ready and able to solve that. 1/2 base times height. Okay, now you are going to have to share these templates. So if you need to pause the video and wait for somebody to be done with it, but we are going to take this template, and the first thing you're going to trace is shape 5. Okay, so when we trace shape 5, it looks like this. It is a prism, and the reason it's a prism is because the base, the bottom base, runs parallel to the top base. Okay, so this is a prism. Okay, any prism, the volume is always equal to the base area times the height. Okay, so I'm going to put some dimensions on this. So in this case, the base area is down here, and it's 6 by 6, so that is 36 square units. That's the area of the base, times the height, which is 7. And when you do that, you get a volume of 252, and I'm just going to say inches cubed. So volume units are always cubic. Okay, so now trace right next to it number 12. I'm going to do the inside first. So we're tracing 12. Again, pause the video until you get the template, and you'll share with each other. But 12 is also a prism. But you need to be very careful. The base of this prism is this triangle, because it runs parallel to this triangle. So this is called a triangular prism. So I'm going to say that this is 10, this is 7, and down here I'm going to call this 8. So the volume is equal to, since it's a prism, we stick with this, base area times height. Well, the area of the base is this triangle. So the area of the base, we know a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Well, I see our height is 8 from over here, but what is this base? we'll notice over here this is 7, so it's 7. So it's 1/2 base times height is the area of this triangle, times the height. How many times is this stacked up on top of itself? And that's 10. Okay, so we get a volume of 280 cubic inches. It's very important for you not just to write down the answer I get, but to take a minute with your calculator and type this in and see if you're getting the same solution. Okay, so volume of prisms. That's always going to be the formula. Volume is the area of the base times the height. Okay. All right, now let's talk about volumes of pyramids. So let's first do number 7. So we're going to trace 7. 7 is a pyramid because there's only one base, and opposite of the base is not another parallel base. It comes to a complete point. So this is a pyramid because the base is square or rectangular. We're not sure because there's no dimensions on it. But across from the base, all the sides come up to a single point. Okay, so whenever you're dealing with the pyramid, remember that it takes 3 of these pyramids to fill up a prism. So we have to have this 1/3. 1/3 base area times height. So I'm going to go down here and put some units on this base. And for the height, these templates don't show the height because the height has to go from the center, drilled straight down to the center point of the base. And I'm going to call that 12. So for my volume formula, it's going to be 1/3. The area of this base, this is a square, it's 8 by 8 or 64 times 12. And that comes out to be 256. Again, we're dealing with volume, so we keep it as cubic inches. Okay. All right, let's take one more card. And we're going to title this card Surface Area. And for surface area, we're going to trace number 9. Oops. Got a little carried away there. So we're tracing 9. Again, pause the video, share templates because we're all going to probably be at about the same place at the same time. And you're also going to want to perhaps get some colors, some different colored highlighters or markers. So I'm going to call this 5 by 11 by 13. So to do surface area, we have to add up all of these flat surfaces. So I'm going to color the 2 surfaces that I know are equal the same color. So this bottom surface, the bottom of the box, is 5 times 11, or 55. And I know that there's one directly opposite of it that's the same distance. So my surface area right now is 55 plus 55. Now I'm going to look at this side. So this side dimension, the side of the cereal box, has a length of 13, but a width right here of what? Well, if you look over here, it's 5. So 13 times 5 is 65. So I have a 65. And then if you notice over here, this side is also 65. So I've got 2 of those. Okay, there's 2 more flat surfaces of this cereal box, and it is the front of the box, which goes right here. This front of the box is 11 by 13. So when you do 11 by 13, you get 143. And it's hard to see, but we all know that there's a back of the box back here that's also 143. Now, as a shortcut, instead of adding all these up, you could do 2 times 55 plus 2 times 65 plus 2 times 143 if you wanted. And the surface area comes out to be 526 square inches. And the reason we're back to square units is because we're dealing with area. Okay, let me see the last one. The last one I think we're going to do, I'm going to draw by hand. Okay, so I want everybody just to draw a parallelogram like this. And then put a dot straight above it. What you're going to do is from each of these 4 points, you're just going to connect up to the dot. So as you can see, we have a square pyramid. So I'm going to call this base a square, and I'm going to label it 6 by 6. So for this surface area, the first surface is down here, this square that's 6 by 6, that's 36 square inches. And then as you can see, there are 4 triangles around this shape. And all 4 of those triangles are going to be the same size. Each triangle has a base of 6, but then I have to give you a height. So I'm going to draw in a height over here of 5. So remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 of 6 times 5. Well, 6 times 5 is 30. A half of that is 15. And we've got one triangle there. We have another triangle here that's exactly the same size. We have another triangle back here that's the same size. And the final one is this front that's the same size. So in other words, we have 4 times 15 plus 36. That surface area comes out to be 96 square inches. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 vocab cards that you're completing, and you're doing all to review for our test, which will be Friday. I'd like you to go quickly back to the formula for circles. And some of us are still having trouble with this idea. So if you could just draw a half circle, a semicircle, and let's say that this semicircle has a diameter of 18 inches. If we had to find the area of this semicircle, the area of the entire circle would be pi times radius squared. Well, if the diameter is 18, the radius is 9. But then since we have a semicircle, we have half of that. We need to divide this by 2. Okay, so when you have a semicircle, you are going to have to cut the area in half. Okay, after you finish this, please make sure to come and or to put your vocab cards onto your rings, but also then please come to the front of the room, pick up your project and complete it. When it's complete, I'd like it turned in nice piles up here in the same areas for 3rd, 4th, and 5th hour. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.